After the Second World War, Americans were traveling by air in booming numbers. The earliest air traffic controllers stood next to runways. They waved flags to guide planes in. As traffic increased, pilots also began to use radios to stay in touch with airports. The first air traffic control towers were built as more and more flights had to be handled. Airports had become very busy places, and air traffic was beginning to overwhelm controllers. June the 30th, 1956. Los Angeles International Airport. TWA Flight 2 lifts off eastbound for Kansas City. Just minutes behind TWA Flight 2, United Airlines Flight 718 takes off from the same airport on its way to Chicago. The system to track both of the planes is far from high-tech. The pilots radio their position to company dispatchers. Controllers use this information to get a rough idea of their flight paths. As the two planes get closer to the Grand Canyon, the distance between them disappears. The United flight closes in on the TWA plane from the right, unaware their paths are about to cross.
The Grand Canyon is a graveyard for 128 passengers and crew of two airliners which crashed on peaks little more than a mile apart. None survived. It was the worst commercial air disaster in history.
Following a lengthy investigation, the stark conclusion was that the crash happened because the two planes were outside of so-called controlled airspace. Once the planes left the small area being monitored by controllers, no one was paying attention to where they were. In the wake of the Grand Canyon accident, American airspace was blanketed by radar. Planes were more stringently confined to air corridors, highways in the sky. That crash determined how far apart airplanes should be spaced and where radar dishes and air traffic control centers should be built. It also resulted in the formation of the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. But now, 50 years later, the system needs to change again.